Not all research is trying to answer the same kind of question. Some questions look to the past, others are trying to predict the future, some are just about understanding for the sake of it, while others, well, they need to solve a problem, like right now. So how do we possibly make sense of it all? Today, we're going to break it down and classify scientific research.
I mean, just think about it for a second. There are so many questions out there. Everything from why is the sky blue to how can we get student test scores to go up? And each one needs a totally different approach, a different tool. You can't use a hammer to fix a leaky faucet, right? So where on earth does a researcher even start?
Well, they start right here with a system. And probably the best way to think about this is like having this perfectly organized, amazing toolbox. See, before you can build anything, you've got to know what each tool does and exactly when to use it. This classification system, that's the blueprint for the entire toolbox. Okay, so let's jump right in. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to sort research by its basic nature. Is it pure or is it practical? Then we'll look at its focus in time, which gives us these three major traditions for looking at the past, the present, or the future. And finally, we're going to zoom way in on one of those, the historical method, to really see how it works. So let's start with that first big divide in our toolbox. And this one is all about the why. Why are we even asking the question in the first place? Is the goal simply to know more, or is it to fix something very specific? This is the fundamental question that splits all research into two main camps. And here they are, basic versus applied research. Basic research is really all about discovery, just expanding what we know about the world simply for the sake of knowing it. Applied research, on the other hand, it rolls up its sleeves and gets to work on a specific real-world problem that needs a solution. Let's take a closer look at basic research, which is sometimes called pure research. Its whole goal isn't to invent a new gadget or solve a business problem by next quarter. No, it's about building the scientific foundation for everything else. Think about Pavlov and his famous dogs. He wasn't trying to come up with a dog training app. He was discovering the fundamental rules of classical conditioning, and that discovery created an entirely new theory of learning that other people could build on for years to come. Now let's flip over to applied research. This is where those theories get put to the test, out in the real world. A really great example from education would be studying how positive reinforcement affects math achievement for elementary school kids. The goal there is super direct and practical. Does this specific technique help kids learn math better right here, right now in a real classroom? And what's really cool is how these two types of research feed each other. The basic discoveries from yesterday often become the applied solutions of today. All right, so we've sorted our tools by why we're using them. Now let's look at them through a second lens. When? Is our question about something that's already happened, or something that's happening right now, or maybe something that could happen in the future? This focus on time gives us three major research traditions. And this table just lays it out perfectly. First, you have the historical method. This one digs deep into the past, asking, what was the reality? Think of a historian poring over old letters to understand an event. Then there's the descriptive method, which takes a snapshot of the present. It asks, what is the current situation? This could be a survey on what people are thinking today. And finally, the experimental method looks to the future, asking, what would happen if? This is where scientists actually change something, like a teaching method, to see what effect it has. Now that we've got the lay of the land, we're going to reach into that toolbox, grab one of these tools, and take a much closer look. Let's do a deep dive into the historical method, the science of understanding the past. So what is it, really? Well, the historical method is not just about telling old stories. It is a super rigorous, systematic process. Researchers study and analyze things that happened in the past, not just to know what happened, but to understand why the world we live in today looks the way it does. And maybe, just maybe, to get a hint of where we're all headed. And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of what the historical method is all about: criticism. A good historical researcher isn't just a human photocopier. They're more like a detective. They don't just find a source and accept it, they interrogate it. And that interrogation, it happens in two key steps. Think of it like a two-part investigation. The first step is external criticism, where our detective asks, is this thing even real? And the second step is internal criticism, where they ask, okay, so it's real, but can I actually trust what it's saying? So let's break down external criticism. Here, the researcher is basically an authenticator. Is the author who they say they are? Or is this a forgery? Does the language, the style, the paper, the ink, does it all fit the time period it's supposed to be from?
Is this the original or a copy of a copy? Has it been sneakily altered over the years? You have to establish that the source is legit before you can do anything else.
Okay, so once a source passes that authenticity test, the real detective work begins with internal criticism. This is all about reliability. You have to ask, does the author contradict themselves anywhere? Did they have a clear bias, a reason to maybe bend the truth? What was their reason for writing this in the first place? And a huge one, were they actually there, an eyewitness, or are they just repeating rumors they heard? This is where it gets really interesting.
And there you have it. It's by understanding these different ways to classify research, first by its nature, basic or applied, and then by its focus in time, historical, descriptive, or experimental, that we build that essential blueprint for the researcher's toolbox. It's how we make sure we're always picking the right tool for the job. So we've organized our tools, but how do we actually use them? Well, next time, we're going to pull another tool out of the box. We're going to explore the descriptive method, the one that tells us what is, and we'll break down exactly how you use it step by step. I'll see you then.